And then before turning, of course, to Ellie and Tamara, I think what we have also seen in the video that is coming out, is a documentary that is coming out. We just saw the video, which is the announcement of it, that your leadership is
everyday lives. And the alternative to empathetic leadership, I utterly reject that near dark day.
In a country which is run by a far-right woman. Then Ellie and Tamara, you have each prioritized inclusion and coalition building in your work as party leader, also Ellie. Why has that been important to you, and how is it being the female leader of the opposition in a country which is run by a far-right woman?
First of all, thank you for your invitation. It's an honor and a pleasure to be here with you today. Well, let me start by answering the second question, which is easier. You know, we usually say that there is a big difference between a female leader and a feminist leader, because it is useless to have a female prime minister that doesn't fight to improve the life of all other women of the country. And we can see that difference in what the government in these 2 years and a half has done. For example, by cutting down the funds for children education, in a country where we have the lowest rates of women unemployment across the whole European Union. And if you ask why, well, you can see what happens when you cut down the public health system, when you cut down welfare. We know what happens in Italy. All the, let's say, the unpaid care work lies on the shoulder of women. And this is why they lag behind in work and also when they want to start a new economic activity. So it's useless to have a female prime minister if she doesn't fight to improve the life conditions and work conditions of all of the women, or also if she doesn't fight for their right to choose over their body, because they are allowing anti-abortionists to get into the clinics and the hospitals to prevent women from getting an abortion according to the law. So I think it's very important to make this difference and try to insist on what can get back credibility in the relationship that we have with our people. What we are trying to do after the defeat in 2022 is to rebuild the identity of the party by starting from the basic of the Constitution, the right to access education, the right to access the healthcare system, the right for a decent job with wages that is not, in a way, condemning you to poverty. And we are seeing that the government of the extreme right is blocking our proposal with the other opposition on a minimum wage in a country where we have more than 4.5 million people that are working poor. That means that they are poor even if they have a job. So it's so important to be inclusive, and as Jacinda just said, to try to push for another way of doing politics, or of another model of leadership. Because we see, and not only in Italy, but also in Europe, that often there are also women that get into position of power. And I'll say something, we don't need to act as men. We must not act as men. That's not the point. But it's true. How many times it happens that when we choose kindness, also some members of our own parties come and say, look, you should be more aggressive. No, because I think that in a country where 50% of the voters have stopped going to vote, I think that when they pop up the television and hear people discussing and shouting to each other, nobody's winning. They think it's just noise. So I think kindness is not only another way to build leadership, and inclusive leadership is important for democratic and progressive forces. But kindness is today something that people demand from us. to be kind and also to be alternative to the right wing. Because what happened in my country is that people could not tell the difference anymore. So I think that we can beat them. And in Italy, we are beating them in regional and local election also 2 weeks ago. But the point is, we will not beat them by running after them on their agenda. We will beat them if we build a progressive alternative which is clear on social and climate justice. That's why I'm so honored to be here and support you, Kati. That's why I'm so honored to be here and support you, because I believe deeply in what you're doing here in the Netherlands. Because it's true that putting together social and climate justice is what we need to realize, that climate change is hitting harder the poorest people of the country and the poorest people of the world. So you cannot divide these two issues. You have to fight together and to unite our fights across all our borders, because we cannot leave, and we must not leave internationalism to the extreme right nationalists. That's why I treasure to be here with such inspiring women like Tamara, like Jacinda, and like my sister Kati. Tell me something about what it means being empathetic as a leader. I have to say, I was starting crying when I heard the applause that they did when you got in, because this is the support, the sisterhood between us is important as female leaders, because we know that it's much harder outside there. Thank you.